winless in his last 23 away games in the competition. But curiously, he has won on each of his last 4 trips to Goodison Park.
Tim, thank you very much indeed. Trevor, back to Goodison Park, your old stomping ground. How do you see this one playing out and why?
Well, Everton were very poor, I have to say, last week. Didn't really deserve to get anything out of the game. What is worrying as well is Doucouré's been the best player this season by a stretch. He's injured. I think he's broken a metatarsal, and they can be quite difficult to heal, so that's not good news. Watford, though, we don't know what we're going to get under Ranieri, do we? It was, again, one of those you could almost predict last week. Liverpool in a rich vein of form, going there and pulling them apart, Watford. And it's a chance for both teams to gain confidence, because I think both these sides are low in confidence. Everton having that home advantage should be the winners in this one, I would imagine.
OK, so that's one of 3 other matches at 3 o'clock. Another is Leeds United versus Wolves. Let's get all the team news ahead of that one at Ellen Road from our commentator John Howick.
It's been a tricky start to the season so far for Leeds and Marcelo Bielsa. With just 1 win under their belt and a lengthy injury list, Leeds United are in serious danger of being dragged into the relegation zone. England duo Calvin Phillips and Patrick Bamford are still out on the sidelines, but star midfielder Rafinha is back in the starting lineup today as Leeds' only change, replacing Tyler Roberts in the midfield. Meanwhile, Wolves are on a roll recently with 4 wins in their past 5 games. The goals have started to finally flow under Bruno Lage, who could move his side into the top 8 with a win in Yorkshire this afternoon. 2 changes for Wolves, with Marçal and Ruben Neves dropping down to the bench, meaning a start for Ryan Aït-Nouri at left fullback and a return for Raul Jimenez up front. From Ellen Road, it's Leeds versus Wolves.
Good to see Jimenez back after sitting out for a game after all of his massive injury problems. And Trev, at a Leeds team who I think surprisingly have underwhelmed this season after their first campaign back in the top flight.
I think it tells you all about the influence of Calvin Phillips, though, as well, doesn't it? That when he's not in the team, there seems to be a lack of, let's say, an anchor in midfield, someone who can direct the play, so athletic, a really good player for England now, obviously, as well. Leeds have missed that, and they are on a bit of a slippy slope. I don't think they're going to be a team that's going to be in the relegation battle, though, as the season goes on. For Wolves, I just see that what an amazing run they're on. It's been incredible, and the victory they got last week at Aston Villa was almost too good to believe, and I'm sure that they couldn't believe it, turning a 2-0 deficit into a 3-2 win. So Bruno Lage doing a tremendous job, and they will go to this game at Leeds United with a lot of confidence.
OK, the last of our 3 p.m. kickoffs, the same as ours, is Southampton versus Burnley. The two bosses are Ralph Hasenhüttl and Sean Dyche. Neither team exactly impressive consistently so far this season. We'll hear from both men in the opposing dugouts, followed by the one and only Andrew Self.
For us, it was important to get the first win. We spoke about the important weeks that are coming up, that there are fixtures where you have to take points, and we know that against Burnley all games have been very tough and very tight in the last years. We are facing here a team with a manager. I think it's the longest consecutive manager in the Premier League, over 9 years now. I think he's manager of Burnley, so a very, very automized teams with very good habits, and finally always hard to beat.
Yeah, tricky start for them. Always seemed to me like a decent outfit. Organised, want to work hard, try and take the game on like we do ourselves. It can happen, like I say, and they worked hard to get a result. First win for them, and that's sometimes what it needs. Our job is to go down there, take on the game again. I think we've done that well this season, and like I say, make sure the details are right. Certainly a game that we feel that we can go and get something from and win. But we feel that about most games. We try and go to Man City with that mindset. Just different challenges across the season. But no, they're a good outfit. But I think we're in decent shape ourselves, other than getting that win, of course.
When Steve Bruce left Newcastle, I pondered what it'd be like if you had a lot of money to spend, and that's the sort of opportunity that never really comes along for either Ralph Hasenhüttl or Sean Dyche. So once again, they lock their managerial horns on a big match in their own Premier League. Southampton, difficult to beat and difficult to win with, and Burnley, who are disciplined and know their jobs inside out. Ralph Hasenhüttl makes one change to the side that beat Leeds 1-0, with Walcott coming in to replace Gineppo. And then there's Sean Dyche. He also makes one change, with Taylor coming back in for Peters to the lineup that lost at the Etihad last time out. So join me for a frenzied feast of fantastic football action here from St Mary's.
literally, as I say, there is no one like Andrew Self, is there, Trevor? You've not done a commentary with Selfie yet,
no,
have
I'm
you?
not.
Get yourself geared up, pal.
Excellent. I look forward to that.
What do you think about this game?
Well, you know, one of my old teams, Burnley, I always keep a close eye on them. I'm a great fan of Sean Dyche. I've seen them a couple of times this season. They're struggling to play the 90 minutes again to get a consistent performance, conceding too many. Southampton, I look at them, that last week's result was just huge. They seemed really on that slippy slope. Hasenhüttl has got a methodology for playing, as Sean Dyche has, really. Will they nullify each other? That's the only thing I'm thinking about really this afternoon. Will it end up as a draw? In my opinion, very likely, to be honest. I think if both teams want to keep that scoreboard ticking over, obviously 3 points would be the way to go, but maybe just accept one on a day like today.
Okay, so those are the other matches, and don't forget you can hear full commentary of any of those online as well at talksport.com/EN. So any full comms of those matches: Saints Burnley, Leeds Wolves, and Everton versus Watford. That's your place, and all the goals, all the key moments, sending offs, you name it, missed penalties as they fly in. We'll bring you those right here during our featured game as well, which is Palace versus Newcastle, kicking off in about 9 minutes' time. With all that in mind, let's hear then from our two bosses, Graham Jones in interim charge of the Magpies. And first of all, Palace's Patrick Vieira.
I don't know, but it's difficult to make any judgment of Newcastle. I think they didn't bring any players so far, so it will be wrong for me to make any comment until they bring any players.
It is so fine in the Premier League. Patrick's gone in and put his own stamp on the club. I think everybody knows Roy's work was outstanding, but they're a bit more possession based now. So that's been the real change, if you like, and we'll have to be ready for that tomorrow.
You know, this is the football club, the period where the football club is. There is a big turnover with players coming and players leaving, and we knew that it would be challenging to make the players gel and play together. And I think when you're looking at where we are, we can be pleased, but I still believe there's still as well more to come from some of the players that we have.
I think when you're such an honest person, the way Steve is, then the culture, certainly with his staff, was very, very honest. So it's how I am. It was a very open, straightforward conversation. But there's nobody knows the industry like Steve. You know, he also knows that it waits for nobody, and you have to move on, and that's what we've done. He understands it.
Okay, so those are the two bosses in the dugouts. Trevor, Stephen, just tell me how you think this one will pan out, and what one or two of your key battlegrounds tactically and personnel-wise might be that might decide it.
Well, I think Patrick Vieira probably spoke for us all there. Not quite sure what you're going to get from Newcastle United. A bit of a shuffle of the pack by Graham Jones today, a couple of changes. As far as Vieira's concerned, he's got to be content with how Crystal Palace have started the season. Certainly the fans are liking what they're seeing. As he said, there was, as Graham Jones noted, there was a lot more possession football this season, which is, you know, it's better on the eye, let's say, but it needs to be effective as well. And you know what I saw against Arsenal by Palace, there's a lot to work on there, a lot to build on. For Newcastle United, there isn't anything to build on from what I've seen. They've got to scrap it out. I think the team's gone a little bit more aggressive as far as energy is concerned. I think that's probably what has to be done at the moment, just to consolidate, get some points on the board. It's definitely what Newcastle need. Crystal Palace home advantage, they'll be looking to hit Newcastle when they're down at the moment. You know, there's lots of enthusiasm away from the football field. What's it actually like on the field? We'll see that today, and I'm looking forward to what difference can Graham Jones bring to this group of players?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question, isn't it? So Graham Jones up against Patrick Vieira. It's 14th against 19th, and it's a very important game, I think, for both teams in terms of their seasons ahead. The Eagles with just the one win so far. That was against Spurs. Only a couple of defeats. Too many draws, though. They've got to turn some of those into wins. Can they do it in front of their home faithful? And up against a Newcastle team. 8 games played. Still yet to win this season. Steve Bruce out. We'll talk over the course of the commentary commentary whether or not it is Mr. Fonseca who comes in as the new boss. Could it be Favre? Could they prize someone like Eddie Howe up to the northeast? So many questions. And as ever, at TalkSport Live, drop us a tweet or read the best out over the course of the game as we build up in just over 5 minutes to Palace Newcastle on Premier League Live. They need a ray of hope, and in the post-Mike Ashley era, has that finally come, I wonder? It's going to be a cracking game, Trev. It's enough to make the hairs stand up on the back of your neck, this kind of atmosphere, isn't it? Love it.
Yeah, it's the Premier League, though. I think this season was always promising to be something special. We're all caught up in the excitement of it, and there's a lot on this game today. There's momentum for Crystal Palace under Vieira. They've got home advantage. Newcastle United need to try and find themselves. They need to try and scratch out a result if they possibly can, get some confidence and try and get some points on the board. It's been doom and gloom for the Geordies for so long, and they've got this investment, but it doesn't really mean that much at this moment in time. They can't change that playing squad that they've got. They've got to work with it. and let's see what they dish up today.
Graham Jones in interim charge. His Newcastle team, 2 changes to the side that lost 3-2 at home to Spurs in Steve Bruce's last match in charge. Carl Darlow in goal. Will work out if it is a back 4 of Emil Kraft, Jamal Lascelles, Kieran Clark and Javier Manquillo, or if it's a back 5 with Matt Ritchie at left wing back. Anyway, he's alongside Ryan Fraser, Sean Longstaff and Isaac Hayden. Brilliant duo up front. Alain Saint-Maximin supporting. Callum Wilson with Gillespie, Sharjah, Linton Lewis, Hendrick Murphy, Almiron Willock and Gale. That's your bench. Crystal Palace under Patrick Vieira, the Arsenal legend. 1 change to their 2-2 draw with his old team, the Gunners. Vicente Guita in goal, Joel Ward, Mark Gay, Joachim Anderson and Trick Mitchell at the back, Luka Milovijevic, the captain, and James McArthur in mid.
Gets to the byline, pulls the ball back. Could have so easily ended up in the back of the net, literally in the first 15 seconds, 20 seconds of the game.
Crikey, rest of the bench didn't even get there. With Zaha back for injury, Hughes, Mateta, Schlupp and Klein. In the end it ricocheted off a Palace shirt, so it was a goal kick to Newcastle rather than a Palace corner. And a welcome chance for the away team, the Magpies, to clear their lines under goalkeeper Carl Darlow. Big clearance downfield picked up by Palace. Here's Joel Ward, the veteran right back, surging down the right hand side. Knocked off balance, but he keeps hold of the ball and now finds the former Chelsea trainee Mark Gay inside to the former Fulham loanee, ex-Leon Anderson. Back to Ward. It's a fairly regular back 4 or back 5 now for Palace, isn't it? Which is a good thing for once.
Yeah, it is. Of course, you want to create a platform that keeps your team stable. And Palace have looked like that in the main. 5 draws already this season. Shows that they can go the distance, and you expect them to be pretty solid today. So you're going to look for initiative, imagination from the Newcastle forward play. But they've got to get on the ball and keep the ball long enough to do that.
At TalkSport Live, Shannon Blythe, big fan of ours from the States, saying hooray. Great to hear from Russ and Trevor. I'll be listening throughout. I think she quite likes our picture in the tunnel we posted of us looking quite chummy before kick-off. Trev, you scrubbed up pretty well for that one.
Well, thanks very much.
You've outdone me.
I don't take good pictures normally, but I look quite good in that one. You actually made me look good in that one.
Well done, our producer James, for his good camera work as well, to both make us look passable. Ball nearly goes loose, but again, it's the Newcastle keeper Darlow who reacts with another big belt downfield, and as a result I think Callum Wilson has found himself offside. Early overtures 2.5 gone. Palace 0, Newcastle 0 on Premier League Live. What have you made of the Newcastle formation then, from what you've seen?
It's a 3-man back line. Emil Kraft is going on the right hand side. Lascelles is obviously in there as well, and Clark makes up that number. So wing backs, 3 centre backs, that's what we're looking at.
So Ritchie and Manquillo as the wing backs, and then effectively Hayden and Longstaff, and Fraser, I think, pushed up almost in a front 3, wide with Saint-Maximin supporting Wilson. Would that be how you see it?
Yeah, pretty well. At the early stages it looks like Callum Wilson is almost up alongside Saint-Maximin.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those, they will adjust it if they're not getting success with this.
3 gone. Palace 0, Newcastle 0. Ripple of applause from the home faithful as Palace adeptly win the ball back through James. With all of that with a single yellow. And here he is back into the lineup today, alongside Luka Milovijevic, his skipper, captain and vice-captain, in the heart of the Palace midfield. And I guess trying to really set that platform in front of the back 4 for the attackers, Trev.
Yeah, I think so. It's important that you do that, but for me, what's the big important thing today is that Newcastle United...
Oh, there's a nasty challenge there, and a player down in significant pain. I think it was Jamal Lascelles. Play goes on as Saint-Maximin bursts through, tries to feed Wilson down the right-hand side, slightly undercooked his pass, the Frenchman. Player down and injured is actually the Palace player, who I felt fouled the Newcastle player. The visiting star is up, but the Palace player who waded in is in significant pain, and I think could have hurt potentially their right knee. Is that Milovijevic? I think it is. Pretty sure that's Luka Milovijevic.
It looked like a 50-50.
Oh, he's a little bit late on Hayden. Both went for the ball.
Do you know when you see that in slow motion? I don't think so.
Anyway, so Hayden say, if anything, it was just a little mistime, but clearly not deliberately. But Hayden, the one kind of on the receiving end, he's actually okay. And it's Milovijevic, the man who steamed in, who I think, has he done his right knee here? What do you think, possibly?
It looks like that. It looks like... again, just to explain to the listeners, we've got 2 guys coming in there for a ball that's run loose, and they've literally got there bang on at the same time. and they kept their feet on the ground. There's no studs showing. It's just the impact that was created by those two players coming together. And of course, Milojevic has come off the worst for wear for that one. But I don't think, as I said, that there was any intent from either player.
I just only very slightly beg to differ that I think Milojevic got there slightly later, but as you say, it's kind of inconsequential in the sense of that. But he is the player down. He might actually be all right. We'll come to that in a moment. As Tim Long, which way?
Tom Davies sliding in. The academy product into the starting lineup today for his first Premier League start of the season, and he scores his first goal.
Talk whether Tom Davies
done that in the early stages of this game. I think it was Demarai Gray making another assist. What a back he's been for Everton.
Yep, completely agree with that. Gray and Townsend, what a super pair of additions, particularly ongoing without Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison as well. But under Rafa Benitez, Everton leading once more. Everton 1, Watford 0. Ranieri's tricky start, shall we say, on his third return to the Premier League continues. Still Leeds 0, Wolves 0, Southampton 0, Burnley 0. Our featured game is 0-0 as well, which is Palace against Newcastle. Earlier, Chelsea sticking 7 past 10-man Norwich City, including a Mason Mount hat-trick among the goals. And of course 5:30 UK, Brighton, Manchester City commentary from Tom Rennie and former City defender Kit Simons. Looking forward to that. 7.5 gone here. 0-0 at Selhurst Park as Palace gracefully and fairly calmly bring the ball forward. It's those two central midfielders, MacArthur and Milojevic, who stroke the ball around. And Milojevic drive seems fine, and I'm glad because I was worried at the time.
Yeah, he's running freely now, which is a good sign. Just looking at this Newcastle setup, they're very, very deep, bringing Crystal Palace on. Are they looking for a counter-attacking football? Maybe that's all they have to offer at this moment in time, Newcastle United.
Yeah, very, very good point. Yes, there's the £300 million takeover. Yes, we understand that with financial fair play, there's £190 million for the new permanent boss to spend in the January transfer window. But as Trevor said, at the moment, that's all kind of meaningless because it's that team on the pitch, those players, they can't change them for a couple more months. What can Jones and whoever takes over after him do, I wonder? Cross from the left hand side, looks for Alain Saint-Maximin, tries to get his header away. Good defending from the young left back Tariq Mitchell, back into the team for this season, re-earning his place after the departure in the summer of Patrick Van Aanholt. And Mitchell, not the tallest of players as a fullback, did well there to just put Saint-Maximin off and see the head-banded Frenchman head the ball back harmlessly to the Palace goalkeeper Vicente Gaeta. Here come Palace again. Nice touch from Christian Benteke, who came into the team relatively late on after Zaha's injury pre-Arsenal, scored, and I thought Benteke did pretty well and was a real threat last week.
Yeah, I think it's if you look at the front line, Odsonne Edouard, I think, is a very good player. When he was at Celtic, he did some great performances over 2 or 3 seasons. So he's got the experience of being at a big club. Now he's come into the big league at the Premier League, and I quite like the look of him. Now Benteke is a confidence player. What do players like Benteke need? They need to score goals, and he got himself a really good goal against Arsenal at the start of the week, and that will have done him a power of good.
Joel Ward for Crystal Palace, head up wearing 2. One of few touches so far for the youngster Michael Olise, and Olise miscontrolled that one, lost out, but then Ryan Fraser caught in 2 minds, was immediately then, having won the ball, dispossessed by Conor Gallagher, and allows Palace just inside the Newcastle half to come forward. Newcastle's defenders step off James MacArthur, they allow him forward. Gallagher tries to win the ball on the edge of the penalty area, goes down, hopefully asked for a penalty, but I think even deep down he knew that the challenge from Kieran Clark was absolutely fine.
Yeah, again, Newcastle United defending deeply. Kieran Clark is just matching the run of Conor Gallagher into the penalty area on Newcastle's left hand side, and just allowing the ball to go out for a goal kick. Not seen much of Conor Gallagher as yet. He's a player that has impressed me, I have to say,
definitely
in the early stages of this season. Not really affecting this game as yet in the first 10 minutes.
But he's kind of like that a little bit, isn't he? When he then makes an impact, it's often very, very telling, be it from a set piece or be it, of course, a goal, as we know with his brace against Spurs.
Yeah, he could have scored against Arsenal as well.
Yeah.
Ramsdale pulled off a terrific stop against him.
Yeah, very, very interesting player. certainly is Conor Gallagher, on loan from Chelsea. Their young player of the season 2 years ago. Livramento, the young defender now at Southampton, was the Academy Player of the Year at the Bridge last season. They pump him through there, don't they, these prospects?
Yeah, the staff, the playing staff at Chelsea runs deep and wide, doesn't it? And these players going out and getting loan experience can only be good for them in the long run, and obviously good for Chelsea as well, because their asset is getting better and better, getting this experience.
Emil Kraft, the Swedish international, into the team today with a long throw, half cleared but only as far as Isaac Hayden, the tough tackling midfielder, appeals for a Newcastle corner. I think, yeah, it's come off a Newcastle shirt last, and it's behind for a Crystal Palace goal kick. And the big screen just in front of us here, Trevor, at Selhurst Park, showing a big picture of Amanda Staveley, who has effectively fronted up the Saudi Arabian takeover and owns 10% of the club, and the investment fund's non-executive chairman, Yasir Al-Ramayan, looking on. And they were very excited last week, weren't they, at St James's for 2 minutes when they led against Spurs. Then it all went a bit wrong.
Yeah, of course, and they're entitled to be. They worked very hard, didn't they, to get this takeover to happen. There's arguments both sides, you know, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. But certainly for the Newcastle United fans, it's the greatest news that they could have possibly had.
Yeah.
But this is the reality of the Premier League now. Last week was the defeat, but here today you've got to go and get the points, and every game in the Premier League is difficult.
Absolutely, we won't go into too many details, but all the human rights questions. Should, of course, a country be allowed to buy a club? And effectively not quite a country according to the Premier League, but certainly concerns about whether or not this is the wrong kind of statement moving forward. We'll park all of that there, but it's a big old story. We're about to go to another goal, but just to update you, Joachim Andersen with a high boot. I think he was going for the ball, but his boot was high. He's not happy. He's just given a two-fingered salute to the referee. Got to be very, very careful there, because Darren England's just booked him. If he'd seen that, I wonder if there might have been another yellow, but he's taken out his man, and it's a yellow card for Andersen. His reaction was a bit naughty that we saw there, Trev. If you've just been booked, got to be very, very careful.
Yeah, he was entitled to go for it, but it could be classed as reckless.
It's Ryan Fraser, by the way, who, to be fair, is also so short that a high boot against Fraser is not as high, dare I say, as to some other players, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, he seems to be fine. He's up, smile on his face. He's getting on with the business. I think Graham Jones would be quite satisfied with what he's seen so far, as far as not allowing Crystal Palace to get any clear effort on goal.
Okay.
Not a lot going forward, though.
Highish boot then is a free kick, which Matt Ritchie for Newcastle bends in. It's a nice delivery opportunity, cleared off the line, goes loose into the side netting. Newcastle so close to the opening goal of the game. Good ball in from Ritchie, flicked on, and Callum Wilson, as he's done so often since coming to the club, ghosted in, didn't quite have the angle to poke it in. We stay 0-0.
Well, surprisingly, a lot of space there as the ball came into the box. And Newcastle United players attacking the ball, knocking it down. A little bit of a ricochet in there. And when it eventually comes back to Callum Wilson, the angle that he's at, only 2 metres from goal, but the angle was very, very acute, and he puts the ball into the side net.
Yep, Sean Longstaff's effort that was cleared initially pretty much off the line, but crucially from Palace's point of view, sideways, so that as he rushed in, Wilson's angle to try and poke home the rebound was just too acute. For that reason, we stay 0-0. Let's quickly take you to another goal. It's coming the Leeds-Wolves game at Ellen Road. John Howard. Raul Jimenez inside the box. It breaks kindly for Hee Chang-Wang. And he gets the opener for Wolves. Oh, Leeds' poor start continues. Bruno Larger and Wolves have the lead. They're 1-0 up. Could be a big result of brewing there.
Yeah, if you get on a run like Wolves are at this moment in time, then things start to go for you miraculously. There's just a confidence about you playing as a collective, and Wolves are benefiting from that now.
Very interesting. Of course, 2 down, as we well know, against Aston Villa at home in the West Midlands derby last weekend, and managed to win that one at the death with 3 goals in the final 10 minutes, 3-2. As Trevor rightly says, when you do that one week, You almost feel invincible the week after. Wolves lead again, they're 1-0 up at Leeds. Everton leading Watford 1-0. Goalless still Southampton, Burnley, and still goalless in our game. Crystal Palace against Newcastle, but a couple of opportunities so far already. Amid this fervent atmosphere. 15 gone, Palace 0, Newcastle 0 on Premier League Live. We're now the only 3 p.m. game to be goalless because there's been a goal at St Mary's. Southampton, Burnley, Andrew Self.
Twists and turns, pirouettes and finds the overlap from Loughton. Loughton will put it in from 25 yards. Free header off the inside of the post. Maxwell Cornet 1-0. 13 minutes gone. Burnley take the lead. And what a goal that was to Maxwell Cornet.
Loose ball here as well for James MacArthur as Palace come forward to Michael Elise, left, right, back to MacArthur again, right edge of the penalty area, 4 Newcastle defenders around him, and after Palace broke nicely, Newcastle initially defended it well collectively, but they've now sloppily given it away again. Here come Palace, right edge of the penalty area once more to Elise. Not going to get his cross away, so wisely goes in field to MacArthur, now to Milivojevic. Also been another goal at Goodison Park, which we'll come back to in a second. Here's MacArthur, all happening. Elise left-footed, tries an in-swinging delivery to try and bamboozle the Newcastle defence. This time Jamal Lascelles with a timely interception, but only as far as Joel Ward to Conor Gallagher. Loses his footing, gives Matt Ritchie the chance to clear. Ritchie, clever ball over the top, looking for the pace and guile of Alastair Maximum, and young Mitchell gets there ahead and plays it back to Joachim Andersen. Let's take you back to Goodison then. Another goal there.
Left-footed delivery comes in to the edge of the box, flicked on and in. Watford have answered back straight away. Josh King back in the starting lineup. Ranieri.
Wow. I'll get Trevor Stevens' reaction to both of those goals in a moment. Here come Palace again. Odsonne-Edouard, little back heel to Gallagher. In front of him was congested, so wisely he's gone to the left-hand side to Tariq Mitchell, who couldn't quite take the ball initially in his first stride. A clever ball through. It's slightly ahead of Ryan Fraser, and that extra yard in front of the Scot just gave Vicente Gaeta the chance to boot that one downfield. End-to-end. Fascinating game so far, Trevor.
It is. Newcastle are defending, as I said, deep and very narrow, but when they do win the ball back, they're counter-attacking. And Sam Maxim picked up the ball on the right-hand side around the halfway line and drives forward, takes responsibility. He can run very quickly with the ball and almost threaded through a terrific ball for Ryan Fraser.
Wow, and just your reactions to...
Burnley going ahead against Southampton, yeah. I mean, Maxwell Cornet is actually making quite an impact at Burnley. I don't think he's a player that people knew too much about.
And he's had an injury niggle, of course, as well, either side of his goals. But great.
He has. And to have that interrupted start to your career at a new club, that's excellent. And that's very, very promising. And to score away from home, get ahead against Southampton, that puts pressure on the home team. Everton have let Watford back into it. They should be capitalising. Particularly, we know how difficult Watford have found it in the early stages of this season. Everton at home should be really pushing that advantage home, and now it's back to 1-1.
19 and a half gone. The voice there of the former Everton, Marseille, England winger Trevor Steven. Palace 0, Newcastle 0. Mitchell tries to find Odsonne-Edouard, partially cleared only as far as Gueye, and just like against Arsenal, Palace a long way upfield. They like to set a very high line to dictate, don't they, which is good, but it can occasionally be dangerous and can catch you on the counter, as Newcastle have tried to do.
Yeah, of course it can, but what you see with Patrick Vieira's teams are that they will try and work an opening rather than just getting the ball in early.
Elise's delivery is a beauty. It's off the post from Benteke. An acute angled effort from Mitchell. Smacks Darlow in the glove, then the face, and goes out off the woodwork and out.
About there, Elise puts a ball in eventually from that right-hand side with his left foot around the back post, and Benteke should score. Without a shadow of a doubt, he should be scoring there. He's only 6 yards out, no pressure, hits the post.
Corner bent in by Milivojevic. It's a dangerous one, and under significant pressure, Karl Darlow gets it partially clear. Volley from Connor Townsend has whacked a Newcastle player right in the nether regions. They're down in agony. Gallagher's now gone down with appeals for a penalty on the edge of the box, and play's been stopped because the Newcastle player, it hit him somewhere very painful. He is in serious pain there. It's Matt Ritchie. Ow.
Yeah, you need to take some time out when you get hit there, so you understand what Matt Ritchie's going through. But there's plenty going on here, isn't there? I mean, there's plenty action. Benteke's chance was really one that he should be bearing, and you would think he would do, particularly after he scored earlier this week. So Newcastle get away with one there.
Oh! The replay of that is painful, I have to say, for poor old Matt Ritchie. And to his credit, he's at least up. A sharp intake of breath. They made a tough stuff up in Scotland, aren't they?
Yeah, well,
they need to be.
There's not a lot you can do about that. You just got to let time by and let that pain go away. But, he's fine now, and the game continues.
79% possession to Palace in this game so far, only 21 to Newcastle, but on the counter they have proved a significant threat. Palace, though, dictating the pace and the play in this game for the majority as MacArthur now comes forward for the home team. Edouard can't find the opening, so plays it to young Tariq Mitchell. First time left-footed cross was a decent one. Emil Kraft sticks out a boot, gets it partially clear. Milivojevic wins it in the air, but the rebound falls back to a Newcastle jersey. Ryan Fraser back helping out his midfield, and the Magpies get it clear. Right wing back Javier Manquillo, formerly of course of Liverpool, formerly a Sunderland loanee, controversially, but the Spaniard getting a fair bit of game time this season, having been at times a peripheral figure. He's the man who worked it forward, but Palace comfortably broke it up. 22 and a half gone, so exactly halfway through the first half here on Premier League Live. It remains Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle 0. Gay wearing 6. One of several young players, consistent basis from Patrick Vieira is another good example. Conor Gallagher, of course, too. Vieira likes to look at some of these rising young stars and give them their chance. Tariq Mitchell, another example. Odson Edouard. 5 players are 23 or under in this Palace team, in stark contrast to Roy Hodgson. His team is largely packed with veterans just like himself. Here's Odson Edouard, right-footed, former Celtic man. Good run, good cross, headed clear at this near post by Isaac Hayden. Only as far as Mitchell down the left-hand side. Poor pass from Mitchell on that occasion, though. Edouard can't get there. Hayden does. And Newcastle counter again. And with Saint-Maximin pushed illegally off the ball, Newcastle get a free kick.
Yeah, the game's developing a pattern now where Crystal Palace are pushing Newcastle United back. The only out really for Newcastle is Saint-Maximin. Again, he's wide on the right-hand side, pushes the ball down the line, and he's pushed into play himself. He is the only outlet for Newcastle. Newcastle keep giving the ball away around the midfield area, handing it back to Palace, who will play possession football and try and work openings.
Long ball over the top is a poor one. At TalkSport Live, keep your tweets coming in. Always good to hear from Brent Parker, who of course is always cooking in his cafe in Drummond, Montana, as he listens to our commentaries and gets the food ready for the day ahead. He says preparing the last of the garden harvest this morning at the cafe as I listen to brilliant commentaries on TalkSport. Hopefully this game, as in ours, will be more competitive than the 7-0 earlier. I think it'll be interesting. I'm backing it to be a 3-2 Eagles win against a Newcastle team with their new owners and no head coach. And Brent with a great picture of his harvest feast at this harvest festival time. Some peppers, pumpkins, apples, potatoes in there. Very nice indeed, Brent, and it's a contrast to the normal meaty burgers and ribs that we see, but we'll let you off with a healthy one for 1 week and 1 week only. At TalkSport Live, keep your tweets coming in. Nearly 25 gone. It's Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle 0. Trev, would you go for a burger and a steak and a rib, or would you go for some healthy fruit and vegetables?
I'll go for the steak.
Good lad.
Oh, sounds great, honestly.
Me too.
I'll go for it now.
Half time would be very nice. Here's Christian Benteke, beats his man, ball goes loose. Onto Edouard, 15 yards out, tries to put in a shot. It's well blocked by Kraft. Shot again, this time from Gay. Lacked conviction, lacked power. Sensible and easy save from Darlow down to his left, but for a moment nearly opened up for Palace once more, Trevor.
Yeah, they're going to get opportunities because they've got so much possession. It's getting clear-cut opportunities, which is the issue.
So boiling over quickly here, Graham Jones, Callum Wilson, Luka Milivojevic, and the fourth official, Vieira, now weighing in as well. Was that just fighting for the ball on the touchline? It certainly got a little bit heated. Yeah. Wilson also tripping Joel Ward right in front of Vieira and Jones as well, and Ward then unhappy as he retrieves it. Wilson then shoves him. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't get that second reaction.
Because Wilson's obviously fouled him, but then blimey, Ward, which we couldn't see at the time, reacts and shoves Wilson back. And to his credit, Milivojevic comes in as the peacemaker, but then Graham Jones then shoves Milivojevic.
Wow. It seemed all unnecessary.
Definitely.
There was no massive coming together. Then Callum Wilson whilst Ward is off the pitch, goes and pushes him to the or doesn't allow him to get up.
Well, Wilson's unhappy at being booked, but surely he fouled his man and then, as you say, shoved his man after he'd fouled him. So I can't see why he's complaining.
No, there's no rationale to Wilson's behaviour there. I think he's quite fortunate just to get the yellow.
Passions are running high, I can tell you. So a volley of 2 bookings in quick succession. Anderson and now Wilson. Plenty of fire and passion here in South London. Still Palace 0, Newcastle 0, approaching 27 minutes. And it's the home team, Crystal Palace, coming forward. Elise to Conor Gallagher, who's upended in no uncertain terms there by Matt Ritchie. So the man who shot and injured Ritchie inadvertently earlier is now hacked down by the same wing-back. And it'll be a Palace free kick out on that far side in quite a tantalising position if Palace can maybe capitalise, Trevor.
Well, they've got, as you saw with Benteke, they've got some good firepower in the air. But Newcastle are trying to absorb this pressure from Palace, but they're going to get found out at some point.
Overstruck free kick. Darlow worried for a second, but it dipped and dived above his crossbar. Good deliveries from Elise so far, but not on that occasion. And the ball goes straight out of play for a goal kick. Just a quick bit of housekeeping. Joel Ward and Callum Wilson both yellow carded in that exchange. Ward for his reaction twice to Wilson's foul and shoving, so they're in, and Anderson of course was the earlier yellow. So 3 yellow cards, 27 minutes in. It could have a few by the end of this if it continues.
Well, certainly competitive, isn't it? Both teams have great desire to get points out of this game, but Palace certainly looking more likely. Newcastle United's threat is only Sam Maximum on a counter-attack. As far as I can see, there's nothing down the flanks for Newcastle United whatsoever.
And also when Palace do get their chances with dead balls, obviously Gallagher often takes them. Elise took that one on his return to the team. They need to capitalise and do more than hump it straight out of play. It was uncharacteristic, but it was costly. Elise coming forward to try and atone, plays it in field to Milivojevic, you can't quite get there. Excellent backtracking from Sam Maximan, who put in the tackle. It's as far as Callum Wilson, who gives, takes and charges forward. Manquillo now as far as Kraft. Little 1-2, but it's overhit. It's in front of Sam Maximin, and the Frenchman's frustrated because after all of his hard work to win it, he surged forward, and the pass from Kraft to him was ahead of him, and the former Nice, Monaco and Saint-Etienne man could not get there. Newcastle lose the ball, having surged forward. They trudge back, and it's Palace back in possession and back dictating the game. Midway inside the Newcastle half, on the far side, 29 minutes gone. Palace 0, Newcastle 0 on Premier League Live. At TalkSport Live, keep your tweets coming in. Where you're listening from around the world, we love to hear from you. Tell us who you are, where you are, what you're up to. Send us a picture, your thoughts on Palace under Vieira. Newcastle, of course, post-Bruce under Jones for now. Who should come in as the new Newcastle long-term boss? We think it's probably going to be the former Roma and Shakhtar Donetsk man, Pal Newcastle. Anyway, at TalkSport Live, let us know, as Palace just in the end over-egg it. The pass as far as Edouard was overhit, and Manquillo happy to win the ball, turned Trevor and booted out of play for a breather.
Yeah, it's so difficult for Newcastle United. How much of this first half has been played in the Newcastle half? Pretty well all of it, isn't it, really? And that can only make more and more pressure build on the defensive sort of setup. Now, can Newcastle keep that going? You've got to find some way through if you're looking at it from Crystal Palace point of view. Certainly with the firepower in the air.
Long ball over the top, looking for Elise, couldn't quite get there. Kieran Clark did just about enough to stick to his man and stop him surging onto a clever ball over the top. Elise quite
well towards getting to a goal scoring position.
Interesting history, interesting story. That I wonder if he continues this, if the French will give him an under 21 or even a senior cap one day, or whether England might prize him away, because of course until he plays in a competitive game for the senior team, he is still fair game on residency rules, isn't he?
Yeah, he's what, about 22?
19.
Is he 19?
Yeah.
I didn't realise he was as young as that.
I think so. I'll double check that.
Oh, we'll better check.
Okay, I will double check that.
Records,
I don't want to give anyone duff information. Far from that, of course, here when we work together, Trevor.
Absolutely.
Try to give nothing but the truth.
Well, if we don't get it right first time, we'll have another go at it, won't we?
And we'll check that in a second as he hastily grabs his phone. I wrote down 19, but I might have rushed it in my pre-match notes. So we'll double check that in just a second. But they are surging forward once more. Crystal Palace. Here we go. Michael Elise, 19. Thank goodness. 12th of December 2001. Birthplace Hammersmith, England. 6'1". Middle name Akpovi. That's now the sum total of my knowledge. Anyway, here comes Conor Gallagher to James MacArthur. Back to Gallagher, wearing 23. Chelsea loanee, nice play. Tries to dink it through right-footed. It was an important interception in the end from Emil Kraft, who's been busy so far, the Swede, on his return to the team. He's one player that Graham Jones decided to bring back into the fold. Ball given away again, though, by Newcastle, as Trevor highlighted. They defend stoutly and often then lose out in that secondary battle. Hudson Edouard, Joel Ward, Elise, first time pass back to Edouard, his compatriot. Elise tries to play it off Matt Ritchie and wins it again, showing good power as well and good hunger for a 19-year-old. Fans love that ripple of applause for Michael Elise, who's got two players marking him as he hugs the far touchline. Back to Ward, first time cross from Ward, cleared by Isaac Hayden and out of play, but semi-shanked out of play. Good field position again for Palace, who are coming hard, aren't they? It's almost wave after wave of attack. They just need the quality in the final third to improve a bit.
Well, there's still energy in the Newcastle United legs, and they are working in packs.
That's the problem as they break. It's normally Saint-Maximin with Wilson off him, and they're normally isolated, aren't they?
Yeah, he's just crowded out there. As soon as he gets the ball, Crystal Palace know that he's the danger man, and put 2 or 3 players around him quickly. So whatever he does, he's got to move the ball quickly or move quickly with it. And a couple of the opportunities had in the last 10 minutes, nothing's come from it. But he's the only one. There's nobody else really getting on the ball and showing that they've got the appetite to take responsibility.
At Talk Sport Live, keep your tweets coming in as Conor Gallagher wins it once more, tries to find Hudson Edouard, and again it's Emil Kraft with the interception. That's trickled out for a throw rather than a corner, and Kraft, the veteran international, screaming at his teammates, telling his fellow defenders and the defensive midfielders to up their game, because Palace, for me, Trev, cut through Newcastle far too easily there.
Yeah, it was actually Kieran Clark had stepped out of the back four and made a really rash attempt to get the ball, and that really destabilised the defence. And as I said, Edouard Nelly played in there.
So, throw to Palace, 34 and a half gone. Mitchell takes it to his fellow youngster Guéhi. All the way back to Anderson as Newcastle press well and push out collectively and effectively on this occasion, but again they give it away. Here come Palace. MacArthur's ball looking for Benteke. Well done Kieran Clark, atoning for his error from a few moments ago. Wins it against the big Belgian. Now, was Saint-Maximin fouled? The answer is no. Guéhi was holding his ground as Saint-Maximin went flying over the top of his shoulder. Referee Darren England had a good view of that. Play goes on, and again it's Palace. So James MacArthur coming forward. The Scot decides to switch the passage of play from left to right to Ward. Now to Elise, who's running at Matt Ritchie. Left-footed cross, another in-swinger, headed to safety by Jamal Lascelles. Out for yet another throw, is it? So let's see. Yep, Elise shepherds that nicely. Another Palace throw, and again, huffing and puffing, but dominating.
A lot coming down that right-hand side with Elise. The young man's seen a lot of the ball, and he uses it wisely. He doesn't try to get the ball away on a cross too quickly. He feeds it back to Joel Ward, who can perhaps get a ball in, or he'll pressure the Newcastle defence himself by trying to take him on with the tricks that he's got, and he seems to have quite a few of those. So he's one to watch out for, and a big threat to Newcastle, Elise.
For once, a breakdown in communication by Palace, and the ball trickles out of play for a Newcastle goal kick. Nee Ankra has tweeted in saying goals galore in the EPL today. 7 for Chelsea already in their incredible win early on, and at least 1 goal in every other game in the match is happening. He says from Accra in Ghana, come on, bring us a goal in the featured game as well. Nee, we are sorry that we're the only people not to provide you with a goal, but we will do our very, very best. Palace have certainly come close on a couple of occasions, particularly Christian Benteke with pretty much a free header, but the big Belgian headed against the post. I wonder, Trev, if that's almost Benteke's career in a microcosm. A big threat, good positions, but not always delivering the goods that he should when you look at his stature and his talent.
Well, he's played at Liverpool, hasn't he? Liverpool signed him, and he couldn't quite fill the shirt there.
No.
We thought,
after being great at Villa.
Yeah, but just a thought that maybe he wasn't really able to have enough confidence at Liverpool.
Yeah.
But he threatens to do really well, doesn't he? He scores a goal, gets on a little bit of form, then it disappears.
Yeah.
But that's just been the way it's been for him.
Yeah, and his Palace career has been like that as well. Signed for 30-odd million quid, good runs, dropped, new contracts, the odd injury, and as Trevor Stevens says, he's never quite caught fire. Golden chance today to get his second of the season, having scored his first in that 2-2 draw against Arsenal. Ball over the top is wonderfully controlled from MacArthur by Elise. Turned it, got it into the box. Mitchell heads it on. There's an offside or possibly a shove there. There's a little shove, I think, by Mitchell. But the way that Elise leapt like a salmon, brought that one down from MacArthur's through ball was really, really nice.
Yeah, he's coming from that wide position and looking to get inside the wing back. And this is exactly what he does. And the ball's played in nicely, but it was a difficult one. Would have gone out for a goal kick, but he brought it down with his left foot beautifully.
I also think, by the way, had there been a goal there and it went to VAR, I think he may have been marginally offside as he actually took the ball. What do you reckon?
Could be. You never quite know with VAR, though, do you?
Because will they bother checking it or not? That's the issue, isn't it, with something like that? They may not go back that far and check, but other times they will. And as we know, sometimes the dialogue is not the same between referees, and the fourth official, and that is one of the frustrations. Anyway, let's not go there today unless we have to. 38 gone, Palace 0, Newcastle 0. Newcastle with a throw. Emil Kraft cheekily nicks about 4 yards as he edges forward before he takes the throw. Good old pro there, gets away with it, but the throw was poor and Palace easily cut it out. Again, a nice first touch from Elise. Gallagher involved as well. Ward downfield, was Lascelles climbing on Edouard. Referee England had a good view and decided against it. Edouard feeling that maybe he was manhandled there by the Newcastle captain. At the other end, though, the Magpies can counter. Callum Wilson looking for Saint-Maximin. Half-hearted appeals for a penalty, but excellent challenge from Marc Guéhi. Number 6 in a foot race with Saint-Maximin, stuck out a boot and timed the challenge well at the expense of a corner, Trevor.
I think that's the first bit of really good football from Newcastle United. Played out of defence by Longstaff to Callum Wilson, who had found a bit of space to turn near the halfway line. And he immediately looks for the run, doesn't he, from Saint-Maximin, and he plays it into his path. Couldn't quite get a hold of the ball to take it on to goal, but it ends up as a corner for Newcastle.
Yeah. Gay claiming that maybe it came off Saint-Maximin last, but I think it was a corner, which Richie will take in a second. Elsewhere, Everton 1, Watford 1, Leeds 0, Wolves 1, Southampton 0, Burnley 1. Earlier, Chelsea 7, Norwich 0 to come. Brighton Man City live in just under 2 hours here on Premier League Live. Richie's corner for Newcastle. Good defending from Benteke. That's again something he can do when he's up for it and when he's feeling confident, is actually add some extra weight at the back as a defender from set pieces. He gets there first, but it's another Newcastle corner as Benteke under pressure heads it straight out of play. We tick toward 40 minutes. Richie again with another left-footed outswinger from the far side. Kraft, Lascelles both up there. Can he find one of them? The answer's yes. It's Kieran Clark. Flicks it on. Sean Longstaff. Was he shoved in the back? Again, half-hearted appeals from the Newcastle fans and a plaintive gesture at least from Longstaff. Was he shoved there, or was that perhaps a little bit soft?
Looked shoulder to shoulder to me as the ball was knocked down from that corner into that danger area. It just looked like it was a shoulder-to-shoulder issue, and Longstaff went to the ground, claimed for the penalty, but I don't think he had any real substance to that claim.
Yep, and that's how the officials saw it as well. Poor throw from Newcastle, blimey. Here come Crystal Palace through James MacArthur to Joel Ward, who's got a bit of space for once on the right, but quickly 2 Newcastle players come scurrying back. Forgot to say actually at kick-off, Newcastle of course in their traditional black and white vertical striped tops with black shorts, black socks and white trim, and Palace also in their traditional home kit, which is red and blue striped tops with blue shorts and blue and red socks. I'd like to get that out of the way in the first minute or two. Got it 40 minutes in, never mind. Here come Palace again. What can they do? Through Tariq Mitchell in space now, the young number 3, the left back. Isaac Hayden, former Arsenal youngster, didn't quite make the grade there before moving over to Newcastle, comes scurrying across, forces Palace to play the ball back to Marc Guéhi, and Guéhi there with a really sloppy ball that Ward couldn't keep in. That was a bit needless.
Yeah, and it gives a lift to Newcastle, doesn't it? It relieves a bit of pressure, takes Newcastle United into the Crystal Palace half with a throw-in, which they shouldn't have had, really.
Shannon Blythe, first Saturday without a cross-country running meet, game on the TV, game on the computer, and listening to the very best on TalkSport Live. It's a happy, happy Saturday from the States. And Shannon, who is a Palace fan, says, come on, you Eagles. Well, Shannon, it's 0-0, but your team have definitely had the best of it so far. MacArthur to Benteke, surging forward, good ball to Edouard. Wonderful opportunity for Odson Edouard, who pulls the trigger. Excellent, brave challenge from the Newcastle defence. Not sure if that was Kraft who came scything in. It was Longstaff, the young midfielder, came back, put his body on the line. He could well have hurt his right ankle in the process, but a critical block from Sean Longstaff there to stop Odson Edouard, surely scoring the opener.
Yeah, it's why Longstaff's in the team, is to try and help that defence, central defence out, just sitting there in front of them. And he timed that well, because Edouard, when he gets into a position like that, around the penalty area, just about to pull his right foot back. Longstaff times it perfectly.
Elisa Azubiemem has tweeted in saying, I've just double checked regarding Elise's story. Born to a Nigerian father and French-Algerian mother, hence of course the fact he's qualified for France, but as a result of that he could play for either England, France, Algeria or Nigeria. So there are 4 potential teams, Elisa says, who he could actually play for at some stage in the future at senior level. Great tweet, Elisa, and that's a great background, isn't it?
Yeah, funnily enough, my daughter could play for 4 teams as well. She plays at Reading Football Club. She's only 19.
Okay.
But she
what's her 4 then?
England, Scotland, France and Algeria.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
So your missus then, or?
Yeah, she's French-Algerian.
Ah, very interesting. And the Scotland comes from?
Birthplace.
Ah, because were you at Rangers at the time?
Yeah, no, I was retired, but I lived there.
Ah, I see. There you go. Very interesting. You've also got a little story about Jordan Ayew's dad, which we're going to come to in a bit, but we'll save that one. We've got all the stories here on Premier League Live when Trevor Stephen and I get together, as we've done pretty regularly this season. I've got to say it's been an absolute pleasure, and long may it continue. Loose ball trickles out of play, hotly contested a game between Tariq Mitchell and Isaac Hayden. Hayden, he does a good job. It's understated, but he was a slow burner for me. I wasn't convinced initially, but I do think now Isaac Hayden has become a very important player.
He's reliable.
Yeah.
I think the coach can trust him, with what he is capable of doing. He doesn't offer that much as far as creativity is concerned. And really what Newcastle need is creativity going forward. And obviously a solid back 4 or 5 again when they get into that transfer window.
Almost need a dynamic kind of creative and possibly a box-to-box midfielder as well to try and just link between these isolated front couple and those behind.
Yeah, I was talking about Longstaff when he protects that back 4. He does it very well, but he's in the team for that. Again, going forward into the opposition half, there's not that creativity to create chances.
Yeah, when you've got Hayden and Longstaff, you probably lack it. Rash challenge from Miller.
And this time, buried in from close proximity. Southampton finally equalise. And Tino Livramento, after thumping the post just moments ago, buries a header from 5 yards into the turf and into the roof of the net.
We mentioned Tino Livramento weirdly in passing earlier, and he's just scored, the former Chelsea youngster, for Southampton. What a crucial goal that could be. He's been one of few Southampton players who've impressed me so far in a troubled season.
Good time to score as well,
yeah,
isn't it?
Very good
just
time.
Before half-time.
Spot on. So suddenly 1-1, and still we're the only game without a goal, but it's been intriguing. Ward looking for Benteke. We've got 2 additional minutes, by the way, at the end of the first half as we tick into. Palace find themselves offside, and Conor Gallagher is annoyed there because there was one more platform, one more potential attack of this half, and I wonder if that was Palace's last opportunity of this first 45 now wasted.
Well, Newcastle can look back on this first half and say, well, look, survived it, stayed solid. Palace looked good in possession. Only really that Benteke chance was the biggest chance of the half, without a doubt, hitting the post.
Flyboy Sagball says, I'm watching the Everton match while I listen to your commentary on the radio of Palace Newcastle on City FM in Accra in Ghana. Eddie Howe should definitely not, he says, be on Newcastle's shortlist. What's the difference between what he did at Bournemouth and Bruce? Newcastle need to use that money in terms of their manager far, far more wisely. Interesting thoughts. We'll put that to Trevor Stephen maybe at half-time, because we'll just stick with the final bit of play at TalkSport Live. Keep your tweets coming in around the world. We'd love to hear from you. There's a lengthy delay, frustration from the home fans, because Matt Ritchie was going to take it, then changed his mind, waited for Emil Kraft to trot over, which took a while from the other side. Newcastle in the final dying seconds of this first half are going to rely on a long throw from Emil Kraft, who wipes the dew off his ball with his jersey. Further delays and boos. Finally Kraft takes it. It wasn't really worth the wait in the end, because Kieran Clark can't get there. Joel Ward can't. He's fouled, and that's enough for referee Darren England, who blows the half-time at whistle. Best chance of the game so far, no question. Christian Benteke from Elise's in-swinging left-footed cross. Benteke raising highest. All he could do was hit the post with a free header and out. Another half chances for the Magpies and for the Eagles. Newcastle on the counter. Palace dominating, but they've huffed and puffed and failed to break the deadlock. It's simmering to the boil nicely, but at the break, it's Palace 0, Newcastle 0. Premier League life. our second half. What's your take maybe of some of those other games so far? As we say, 2-1 all draws at the moment and one potential away win.
Yeah, well, starting at Everton, it's kind of typical of them. They start games well, get themselves ahead, and then lose their way somewhat. Watford get themselves back into the game, and by all accounts doing pretty well in that first half. So the only thing that I can say is the few injuries with Everton. Obviously, Calvert-Lewin still not available, missing Decore is a big blow to them. But Everton need to start winning these home matches again before it becomes a habit, and they won't get a better opportunity than against Watford.
Zach Jewell has tweeted in saying the best pre-game to the American college football Saturday is to listen to the best coverage of the Premier League with you boys, hoping for an Eagles win this morning. Zach, thank you, and yeah, we'll certainly see what we can do for you, my friend. So yeah, at TalkSport Live, keep your tweets coming in. Zoggy the Gooner, I'm stuck in traffic. I'm driving from New York to Boston, so nice road trip along the eastern seaboard. Great commentary from you chaps. Talking of commentaries, coming up next at 5:30 UK, so in just over an hour and a half's time, Manchester City, the defending champions, make the trip to a Brighton team who've been excellent so far this season. Let's hear from the two bosses heading into that one, which of course is Graham Potter of the Seagulls and the Citizens, Pep Guardiola, second up.
Manchester City, from what I've seen, have taken another step forward. So impressive with their performances against Liverpool, against Chelsea. To pick up 4 points in those two matches away from home is an incredible performance. So we know the quality of the opposition, like I said, as good as anybody in the world. So it's a fantastic challenge for us, a great opportunity, and one we're looking forward to.
The praise is because we win the managers, and we are incredible criticized, more than the worst in the society. Sometimes we are worse than them. Just for we don't win games, it's simple as that. So we'll be treated the same. I'm treated good because I win sometimes, and I treat bad because I lose sometimes. This is the only reason why.
Pep Guardiola, and before we talk about the game, Trevor, this is Pep talking about, of course, the abuse and everything that's been thrown at poor old Steve Bruce before, after 1,000 games in charge in his career, of course, he was given the old fishhook one match in by the new Newcastle owners. Quotes there from Pep saying managers are sometimes treated as the worst of the worst. Mikel Arteta, pre-match ahead of their win against Aston Villa 3-0 last night for Arsenal, says that abuse up in St James's Park might be so bad it could put other managers off taking the job, which is an interesting take. And even Graham Jones, who's now in as the replacement interim, said he's upset by the manner of Bruce's departure. So quite a few of those around Steve Bruce are not overly happy, are they, on how he was treated, particularly, I'm afraid, by maybe elements of the fan base, whether they're proper fans or not.
Yeah, it is a problem in the modern world, isn't it? There are so many platforms for people to criticise, vent their frustrations in a negative way, and that's what we've seen, and we've seen that grow in recent years. We've seen racial abuse, we've seen criticisms by minorities in the main using these social media platforms, and it has to be rectified. And I think Arteta's right. I think that the management role will be looked upon as it's something that you're going to have to accept, that you're going to be abused if things don't go well for you. And you know, the football management game is you win some, you lose some. You can't win them all. It's just how it is. And yeah, Steve Bruce's treatment up at Newcastle was, towards the end, was shocking, really, and an embarrassment to the people who were guilty of doing it.
And admittedly, he's only a few games into his managerial career, but in contrast, ever the tough man Patrick Vieira, asked pre-match, said, best just ignore all the abuse. That's what I do. All well and good, and it's good that he can do that now, but it'd be interesting in another, 900 games, if he gets to 1,000 like Steve Bruce, if he still feels the same or not. We will wait and see. Anyway, quick word, if we can, just for a few seconds on this match itself, Brighton-Man City, because it's two teams who've been great this season, one we expected and one we didn't necessarily.
Yeah, Brighton are a surprise package, and even Graham Potter, I think he hadn't won everybody over in his first year, but now he's been ranked up there with some of the top jobs. We mentioned about the Newcastle United job, for instance. So tremendous job that they've done. They're playing some slick football, some energetic football, great confidence, and they're difficult to beat. They're difficult to play against. But then again, they're going to have Manchester City as visitors, and we know what they're all about. They are a level above, really, in the quality of their player, maybe 2-3 levels above what you'd expect Brighton to be. So you'd never back against a Pep Guardiola side in any football match, really, would you?
Okay, so Chelsea top by 4 points after their win earlier. Liverpool second. Man City are third. They would go second till tomorrow at least if they get the win. Everton currently up to fourth with their potential point. It knocks Brighton down to fifth. It knocks Wolves, by the way, up to sixth as they currently lead their game. That's the in-game top six in the Premier League table, forever changing. Anyway, up next, second half, Palace Newcastle, Premier League Live. And players just making their way down the tunnel. They'll be out in just a second. And on our camera, we just got a little shot there of one of our colleagues here at Premier League Live, Sean Derry, who of course is part of the Palace senior coaching staff these days, isn't he?
Yeah, Sean's working his way up through the coaching system. You've got to take that step by step, and I'm sure he's got great visions of getting into management somewhere down the track.
Like you, really top bloke as well, Sean Derry. Very, very nice man. Still does the odd game with us when he can, but of course his commitment's pretty wide-ranging now that he is just part of that team under Patrick Vieira as the home side make their way out for the second half in their traditional red and blue. Already Newcastle United in their black and white have made their way out onto the playing surface for the second half. 0-0 at half-time on Premier League Live. Palace with Vicente Keita in goal, Joel Ward, Mark Gay, Joachim Anderson and Turek Mitchell at the back, Luka Milivojevic, the skipper, and James McArthur in midfield with Odsonne Edouard, Conor Gallagher, Michael Elise, all supporting Christian Benteke up front. If needed, Jack Butland, James Tompkins, Cheku Kouyaté and Jordan Ayew, Wilfried Zaha after illness, Will Hughes, Jean-Philippe Mateta, Jeffrey Schlupp and Nathaniel Klein is the bench. Just quickly, tell us about Jordan Ayew, because you played with his dad at Marseille.
I did. The Ayew brothers, Jordan and Andre, they are the sons of Amadi Pele, who was a teammate of mine at Olympique de Marseille in 91-92 of the last century, I have to say, Russell. Quite a long time ago. And Jordan was literally knee-high to a grasshopper when I knew him, a 2-year-old. And you could tell his dad was always playing football with him. They were going to be destined for a career in football, and it's good to see that he's still playing in the Premier League.
Excellent work, Trevor Stephen. He's been there and that. Bought the t-shirt, believe you me. Newcastle, Cardalo in goal, Javier Manquillo, Kieran Clark, Jamal Lascelles, the skipper, Emil Kraft, Matt Ritchie. That's your back five. Isaac Hayden and Sean Longstaff, with Ryan Fraser, Alain Saint-Maximin supporting Callum Wilson up front. The bench, Mark Gillespie, the sub-keeper, Fabian Charger, Linton, Jamal Lewis, Jeff Hendrick, Jacob Murphy, Miguel Almiron, Joe Willock and Dwight Gale. We're underway in the second half. Newcastle kicking from right to left from our vantage point here in South London for the second half. Palace going from left to right, and it's Newcastle in possession early on through Sean Longstaff, who's showing no ill effects from that heroic block where it looked like he twisted his ankle as he got a boot in there to stop Hudson Edouard just before half-time. Longstaff, though, is okay, and it's Newcastle in possession through Kieran Clark to Matt Ritchie, who himself was in the wars when he got hit in the old Crown Jewels from a shot by Conor Gallagher much earlier in the half. Palace win the ball, thump it downfield a bit more directly, a bit more route one, looking for Christian Benteke, no joy, and Anderson plays it back to his goalkeeper Guita. Do you think we might see Palace doing that a bit more, being a bit more direct and a bit less pretty, perhaps a bit less patient? I don't know. I don't think they will, actually. I think they will get success if they keep doing that, because I think they played some really nice football in the first half, but Newcastle were very dogged about their defending. It's whether Newcastle can keep that level of concentration going in the second half. So I don't imagine a big change in the early stages. If we get into the latter stages, then of course it will start to go direct, I would imagine. Now Tyrick Mitchell gave the ball away, and having not the best of deliveries, and again Benteke is back as an extra defender. He makes the interception. Longstaff back to Fraser, lumps this one in, looking for Kieran Clark, who was still up there. Clark in the end was in an offside position. Joel Ward didn't know that as he shepherded it back to his keeper. And again, Newcastle this time, a bit like Palace in the first half, not making the most of a set-piece opportunity, Trevor.
No, the set-pieces are going to be really crucial, particularly for Newcastle United, because they have such a lack of possession and not the quality being fed through to Saint-Maximin up front. So those opportunities, your corner kicks, your free kicks around the box, like the one we've just seen, are so important, but delivery has to be good, and so far we've not seen it.
47.5 minutes gone. Palace 0, Newcastle 0. Palace back in possession, just feeling their way gradually into the second half. MacArthur to Ward, now to Elise, who offloads to Conor Gallagher. Was Gallagher shoved in the back? I was pretty sure he was. Anyway, I think advantage being played by referee Darren England. Play goes on. Joachim Andersen, Danish international, as mentioned briefly earlier, was on loan at Fulham during their troubled season when they went down. Back in the Premier League. Was a Lyon-owned player at that stage. Now a Palace man. To Gallagher, who surely was shoved in the back again. This time, yes. Conor Gallagher does win the free kick. He's been in the wars, and it's Sean Longstaff who got stuck into it.
I think Sean Longstaff is he's going to get through 100 tackles in this game, but most of them are unfair, to be honest with you. He is doing a specific job for Newcastle United, but he is competitive, but it's untidy. And again, he's given Crystal Palace an opportunity, and Elise on the ball to swing a ball into the danger area.
But we need better set-piece delivery, which we've not seen so far. Elise to the far post. Anderson was up there. It was unconvincing, and two Newcastle players got there ahead of the centre-half, and it was headed to safety, and I'm afraid another poor set-piece.
Yeah, I'm surprised, because Elise's quality in the first half was good. That time when he had a dead ball situation, he couldn't deliver it properly.
Today, after Bruce's departure, his team, with, as we mentioned, the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund bigwigs, Here are Crystal Palace through Conor Gallagher. Benteke! Very, very close from Christian Benteke. And whereas his first half effort lacked conviction with his head, this time an acrobatic swivel, a near bicycle kick over his right shoulder. And Christian Benteke is about half a yard wide of goal.
He's got that in his locker. He's got spectacular goals in his locker, and he was unlucky in this particular instance.
Would have been an awesome goal if it had gone in.
Well, the ball's pulled back to the edge of the box, and he's done the bicycle kick, and he's leathered it. He's caught it right on the laces, but he's just got slightly under it. It's about a foot over the bar.
Oh, the enigma, the frustration of Benteke continues. A man who's capable of that, but also capable of that missed easy header. And this time there's a bit of misunderstanding in the Newcastle defence. Charging out to the edge of his penalty area was Carl Darlow. He had to come the Newcastle keeper because of the lack of conviction of those in front of him, and he's taken out and clattered into one of his own players in the process. I think it's Kieran Clark. Conor Gallagher's unhappy, he was caught up in it as well. I think Palace are saying that they had the ball and maybe wanted to continue. Was Benteke shoved off the ball by Lascelles in the build-up as well? Regardless, players stopped, and neither team, Trevor, seems to be happy.
Well, the ball's going over the top, and Carl Darlow has decided that he's going to come out and take care of it. But there's two defenders around as Edouard, and 5 or 6 metres outside the penalty area. Darlow had the chance to stop as Kieran Clark was clearly getting to the ball.
Do you think Benteke's taken off the ball by Lascelles as well, or not?
There's a possibility of that, yeah. But
Newcastle 0, there's been a goal elsewhere. Remember, at one point Southampton were a goal down at home to fellow strugglers Burnley, then they equalised. There's now been a third goal at St Mary's for Andrew Self.
Broha gives it straight to Yalo, straight ball back from where it came, and now it's Broha into the box, going wide of Tarkowski. 2-1.
And at the expense of Burnley, my old team.
Of course, where it all began, where your magic began.
I'm worried about Burnley. They're going ahead in matches and then they can't hold on to them. And it all becomes a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, no, I totally understand where you're coming from there. Of course, having had Ben Mee out for a chunk with COVID, has clearly not helped at the back for Burnley. But their issues are there for all to see. I'm just checking if Mee is back into the team today or not. He's not. He's still out, and they need him back quickly, don't they? Yeah,
it's a small squad as far as quality is concerned at Burnley, and Mee is definitely a leader of that group, and he's sorely missed.
Yeah. Collins in alongside Tarkowski again today. Of course, we've seen Long in there at times as well, but definitely not quite the same team without that Mee and Tarko combo. Anyway, back here come Newcastle for once. Matt Ritchie with a low fizzing cross from the near side. It nearly ricocheted as far as his fellow Scottish international Ryan Fraser, his fellow wide man who cut in. But Newcastle committing men forward and now short-handed at the back as Odsonne Edouard surges forward. He's convinced he was fouled. Palace's fans are convinced that was the case, but Kraft has got the decision, and the free kick on the counter has gone Newcastle's way on the far side, Trevor.
Yeah, end to end all of a sudden, isn't it? And Newcastle were piling forward. Then there's this break on Crystal Palace, and two players come together there.
I feel a bit sorry for Edouard because he's been shoved in the back by Longstaff, and then he's shoved Kraft as a reaction to being shoved himself, and the ref only saw the second one.
Yeah, work that one out if you can.
Two wrongs don't make a right. That's proven there. Nearly 54 gone. It's still Palace 0, Newcastle 0. Flicked on and out for a Newcastle throw. Good hunger by the away team on that far side. And now both sets of fans chanting. Newcastle beginning it and Palace responding. Great, isn't it? We've missed this during lockdown with no fans. Really missed it.
Well, without a doubt. Selhurst Park is famous for its atmosphere, and when the Geordies roll into town, particularly with what's been happening at their club, there's always going to be a special atmosphere. But I'm quite enjoying the game. It's not a classic.
Yeah, it's not a duff 0-0, is it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Long ball over the top from MacArthur, looking for Elise, and Matt Ritchie with his weaker right foot does well. Cutting in field, Benteke nearly intercepted but miscontrolled. Manquillo picked his pocket. Fraser bursting forward, shoved in the back by Michael Elise. That was quite cynical, and Elise, I would think, not a million miles away from a yellow card for that one.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he just caught the heel here. I don't think there was anything intentional.
Okay.
But Newcastle will quite enjoy this, winning the ball back, breaking up the flow of the game, getting a free kick, keeping it ugly, if you like, and that's working in their favour.
Short free kick to Sean Longstaff, I don't think was necessarily expecting it. He wasn't, because he's just saying, why did you give that to me when I was 2 feet away from you? Tried to pass to Maximan, he loses it, and Palace now counter-attack. Edouard nutmegs his man, edge of the D, finds Conor Gallagher, twists, turns, beats one player, keeps hold of it in the face of the challenge from the second. Great work from Conor Gallagher. Mitchell's delivery, looking for Benteke!
That was even closer than his chance in the first half. Ball was floated into the far post, and he rises above 3 or 4 players. He's got that physicality to be able to do that, and he nods it into the bottom corner. And Newcastle, self-inflicted wound, they were up the other end and had a free kick. Then they play a terrible free kick. Crystal Palace get the advantage, turn them over, and Mitchell puts a ball into the far post, which is so inviting for Benteke.
We've talked about the lack of quality of the final ball, haven't we? And there, as you rightly say, Tariq Mitchell, Benteke getting it right. I also got to say massive credit to Conor Gallagher, because the way he tenaciously fought on the floor, got back up, took 2 Newcastle players out of the game to find Mitchell, that for me almost created the space.
Yeah, it did. He held on to it. It looked like he was going to be fouled at the edge of the box, but he kept on his feet anyway.
Yep.
And when the ball did come into the box, Benteke had time to get there because Gallagher had held on to it, gives it to Mitchell, who gets it in literally first time, and the second touch into the far post, and Benteke puts Crystal Palace ahead.
Told everybody we'd get a goal at some point. Spear, I wonder, from Trevor's boyhood club. Draw, and the stat boys, Trev, only 57 minutes gone. They're saying only a 6% chance of a Newcastle win. Crikey.
Oh, yeah, I don't know how that's worked out, but I can't.
A lot of computers and a lot of clever men and women.
I can't really disagree, because momentum is obviously with Crystal Palace now. The fans are jumping.
Listen to those ultras to our right.
Yeah.
Look at those flags going.
Yeah, they're loving it, aren't they? Absolutely loving it. And Benteke, 2 goals in 2 games. This is good times for Crystal Palace. Newcastle are up against it. They haven't looked like creating chances.
They do have a throw, though, in Palace territory. Kraft with the long throw. It's flicked on nicely. That was better by Kieran Clark. And it was Gallagher back helping out, who made the interception. Finds Elise. And surely his shirt was tugged there by Joel Lascelles. Lascelles then wades in on Benteke. Lascelles back-to-back, a shirt tug and then a challenge from behind. To me, that could have been 2 yellows in the space of 3 seconds. He'll only get 1. I think there's an argument that there were almost 2 yellow card things in a row.
If there were isolated incidents, those are 2 stonewall yellow cards. But he was allowed to get away with the first one on the basis that Crystal Palace still had the ball. But then
he was falling. To be fair, he was slipping for the second.
Wow.
But the first, I think, is a definite yellow. Then he's just slipping, I think. Kind of. Maybe one is he's pushing his luck with calmer and more measured Newcastle players. Hence he's the captain and missed when he's not there. But even he looked rocked there. Benteke's goal. Newcastle all at sea, and we'll take you in just a second to another goal at St Mary's. It was 2-1 Southampton against Burnley. Busy day for Andrew Self. We're going to hear a little bit more from Mr. Self in a second and find out which way that one has gone. Anyway, here come Palace, 1 up, fervent atmosphere, and looking for a much needed win, and only their second in the league under Patrick Vieira. To be fair, stats wise, 6 attempts to 3, 2 on goal to Newcastle's 1, plus they've hit the post on top of that and fizzed over the bar as well from Benteke. It's Benteke the goal scorer, in possession, surging forward, beat, you could argue. Newcastle push Palace back to halfway. In a moment, we'll take you, as I say, to the south coast for a further goal. We'll see whether Palace can get a second here first. Excellent turn from Conor Gallagher, who's having a wonderful second half. The man on loan from Chelsea to Elise, infield, dummied by Edouard. Great 1-2, and Lascelles with a vital interception. Otherwise, the 2 strikers combining brilliantly could have opened things up. As it was, Newcastle hack it to safety as far as Anderson. Palace full of passion and pomp. Here they come again. Elise cutting in field. Good challenge from Longstaff, who wins it back to Fraser. He's dispossessed again by Gallagher, who's on fire. Now he's fouled, surely. I'm not sure if that one's been given or not. I think it's eventually been given as Gallagher goes flying. It has. We'll take you pre the free kick then to St Mary's.
Westwood puts it forward to Cornet. Cornet on the turn. What a goal by Maxwell Cornet. Out of nothing. 22 yards out. Span Bednarek, rifled a left foot shot into the corner. What a goal, his second on the day. Oh, word.
Wow, 2-2. Maxwell Cornet, thanks to Andrew Self, Southampton's game there against Burnley. Short free kick from Milivojevic, wasn't great, but Ward wins the secondary ball. Dinks it into Edouard, to Anderson, who fancied trying to get his shot away, couldn't do so. Picked up by MacArthur. Newcastle ultimately defend that one well. Palace's set-piece acumen again a little questionable, and the Eagles forced back to halfway. That was a good opportunity to extend their lead for me.
Yeah, Crystal Palace are full of confidence now, and they're looking good in possession, confident in possession. The complete opposite from where Newcastle United are at this moment.
They really are folding like a cheap tent. A marauding run of a Palace lead, Trevor.
Yeah, we were talking about confidence. Benteke is a great example of that now. He's finding space, he's getting on the ball, he's doing everything right. He just couldn't get over that. Another great ball in from the right-hand side from Elise, this time with his right foot, showing us that he's two-footed and he can put quality in with both.
Flowing out of Christian Benteke's veins, I can tell you, is that confidence. 62 gone, Palace 1, Newcastle 0. Could easily be 3, if not 4. Bar, post, one just over, and a goal. All from Christian Benteke. At the other end, here's Alain Saint-Maximin as Newcastle win it back on halfway. Tries a first-time pass to Callum Wilson, who we barely mentioned for
a change will be made as well by Graham Jones.
Double change coming up. Joe Willock, of course, big signing in the summer after doing so well on loan from Arsenal. But as a permanent Newcastle player, he's been pretty quiet. He's about to come on for Ryan Fraser. And Miguel Almiron, the Paraguayan, big signing from Atlanta United in MLS, he's going to come on for Sean Longstaff. So Willock and Almiron about to come on for Fraser and Longstaff. Free kick will be taken.
Gives them a glimmer of hope, but they haven't looked threatening from anything that they've done in the Crystal Palace half so far.
Free kick led to the corner. Ritchie will take it. Lascelles fancies this one. He's going to make a late run from deep. It's up to Lascelles. Flicks it on. Chested down. Oh, what a strike! An absolutely sublime goal from Callum Wilson. A bicycle kick of the highest quality into the top corner. Wilson makes it 6 goals in 6 Premier League starts. And it's Palace 1, Newcastle 1. What a strike. Callum Wilson.
Oh, we're just saying Newcastle weren't looking, or I was saying that Newcastle weren't looking threatening and hadn't really produced anything in front of goal. Then the corner kick goes to the back post. It's knocked back across the 6-yard line, probably about 8 or 9 yards out. Callum Wilson, with his back to goal, puts it absolutely in the top corner. Amazing goal, terrific goal from Callum Wilson, completely against the run of play, but it brings Newcastle back into it.
What a goal. Callum Wilson's 4th of the season, and as I say, either side of an injury, that's now 6 in 6, and he does have his injury issues, we know that, but when he's fit, he is absolutely integral to what Newcastle do. That was of the highest order. Brilliant.
Well, he's got to take any chance that he can get, hasn't he, because they're not creating anything really. The same for Alain Saint-Maximin. But what a finish there from Wilson, and it puts another different slant on the game.
Tell you what, we've been spoilt, mate, because last week we had Marcus Rashford's lovely type strike. We had Mason Greenwood's 35-yarder. Yeah. We had that incredible Yuri Tielemans lob. Yeah. Now we've just had this. We've done really well the last 2 Saturdays at 3 with our main games, haven't we, with goals?
Yeah, well, only 65 minutes gone. We might get something else in this one.
Wow, some absolute belters. Those 2 subs are still happening, I believe, despite the goal. Yes, they continue with them. And Amanda Staveley, alongside the Saudi chief executive, whom we mentioned earlier, Liasir Al-Rumayyan, they're suddenly very happy. They looked a bit down in the mouth in the executive box earlier. Now they're grinning all over their faces. Meanwhile, another goal at Goodison Park. Was 1-1 Everton-Watford. Tim Long.
Keane back in, and Richarlison back in the lineup and back in the goals. He's only been on the field for a couple of minutes.
Wow, Richarlison back after injury. How much was that needed with Calvert-Lewin still out? Now Richarlison, the brilliant Brazilian, puts Everton, Trevor's old team, back ahead in that battle against Claudio Ranieri's Watford. I'll get Trevor's reaction in a second, but 1-1 here. Palace Newcastle, 66 gone here on Premier League Live. Palace on the attack. Poor pass though. Are they rattled now, I wonder, by that sublime equaliser? And here's a first touch for Miguel Almiron, who's always full of running, full of guile. Beats Joel Ward. Ward though does well to stay on his feet. Just keep side by side with the Paraguayan. And eventually, having been beaten initially, Ward, wily old fox that he is, did well to win it back. That sets the platform 67 gone for Palace at 1-1 to try and edge their way downfield. Willock dropped for the game. comes back onto the field and immediately tries to put a challenge in on James MacArthur. MacArthur just about shakes the former Arsenal man off and plays it back to Mitchell. So 1-1 and Everton back ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, it's big news for Everton that Richarlison's back. He started on the bench, gets on the field, within 2 minutes he scores. He's quality, he plays for Brazil, for goodness sake. You know, I mean, he has got qualities. He's infuriating to watch, but it's a big turning point, I think, for Everton to have him back.
Here come Palace. Nice little interplay of passes, but at the end, the delivery between Benton and Edouard just lacked that final bit of composure and quality again after nice build-up from the two players that actually helped set up the goal between them, Gallagher and Mitchell, who've both impressed me again today. This will be another interesting test of what Patrick Vieira can do, and he has made one all-important sub, as we were talking there. Off the field has gone Michael Elise, slightly surprising, but maybe he's faded a little bit. On has come Wilfried Zaha, got ill on Ivory Coast international duty, didn't play against Arsenal. This time he's off the bench against Newcastle. Is the stage, I wonder, Trevor, set for Wilf Zaha or not?
Yeah, it's a stage for, you know, both the Newcastle players as well as Zaha, isn't it, for Almiron and Willock to do something. But Zaha's quality, isn't he? He can win a game on his own.
Yep.
And if he's up to match fitness, then he's going to be a real threat.
All in their own way, big signing. Zaha, of course, back, as we know, for 2 or 3 seasons after it didn't really work out at Man United. As we talked about, Almiron coming in from MLS from Atlanta for about 20 odd million, and of course Willock, again, similar fee, after that loan spell being made permanent from Arsenal as well. All, as Trevor rightly says, with points to prove for the final 22 plus minutes of this game. Premier League Live, Palace 1, Newcastle 1, and we are set for a battle royal. It's great as ever, a privilege to bring you that battle royal right here to the world on Premier League Live from the world's global domestic league. We absolutely love it, Trevor, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. You know, I've got no massive allegiance to many of the teams, you know, in the Premier League, but I love watching them. It's full on, it's full commitment. You can get the odd drab one, but there's always the potential of something great happening, and that's what draws you. Today we've got a really great game, a game that there's so much riding on. It's about momentum for Crystal Palace, and it's about survival stakes for Newcastle United, and trying to deal with the situation that they've got at the moment.
Ball over the top from Kraft, frees Callum Wilson out on the far side, running against Mark Guéhi, stays on his feet, does Wilson, blocked second time around by young Guéhi, but it's behind for a Newcastle corner. Excellent work from Callum Wilson, barely mentioned him, as we said, for about 40-50 minutes of the game, then a wonder goal, and now he's reinvigorated and wins that corner.
Yeah, he's finding a little bit of space on that right hand side, as I say, he wins the corner. But there's far more. You can see it in the faces of the Newcastle players. There's belief all of a sudden.
Going to be Ritchie to take it. 20 minutes to go, plus time added on here on Premier League Live. 1-1, left-footed, former Bournemouth man, looking for another former Bournemouth man in Wilson. Clark was up there, loose ball. Mitchell gets it half clear, only as far as Almiron to Saint-Maximin. Good challenge from Luka Milivojevic to get there just ahead of Saint-Maximin. Loose ball picked up by Benteke. Now Newcastle have committed men forward. Can Palace counter? Possible foul on Conor Gallagher. Play goes on. Hayden brought him down. First touch for Wilf Zaha. Beats one, beats two, thinks about the shot. For me, too greedy there, shouldn't have shot. Milivojevic tries to shoot. It cannons off Kraft, I think it was, and goes clear. Great skills from Zaha, but I don't think the shot was the right option.
Not as it closed down, he held on to it too long.
Greedy?
Yeah, it was just he loves that, though, coming in from the right hand side to get the shot away with his left foot. Too many step overs, too many touches.
Yeah, it was great skill to free the space, and of course he's been out, he's hungry to impress. Well, Zaha is a player of great quality, if at sometimes a bit frustrating. What's he going to do here? Again, good skills, good cross as well, looking for his man. It was Kraft once more. He's had a busy old game. He headed it to partial safety. Joel Ward won it, then lost it. Here's Saint-Maximin, flicks it over the head of MacArthur, and well done Ward, who realised the danger, tracked him from right back, won it in the middle of the field, dummied as far as Benteke. Oh, Christian Benteke's missed a sitter. Oh, Benteke, what are you doing? Back to the bad side of Benteke after the brilliance. He's put it wide, 1-on-1. Chance goes a begging.
He's glancing over to see if he was offside or not.
He's hoping he was, and he's not.
Yeah, he was hoping that he was, really. But he's middle of the goals, on his left foot, not under much pressure. Kieran Clark was trying to get near, but not near. And he misses by a foot from about 12 feet. You know, it should be ahead, Crystal Palace 2-1. Typical Benteke, isn't it?
Bad, brilliant, bad, all in the space of one game. Crikey. Now Milivojevic is going off. On comes Jeffrey Schlupp. Talented player himself, part of the squad during Leicester's title-winning season. The Ghanaian, who was at one point a defender, then pushed up into midfield. Hasn't really played that much from the off under Patrick Vieira. Did a fair bit more under Roy Hodgson. So yet another player with a point to prove, coming on for the final few minutes. And Milivojevic off, as he was last week as well. Look at Milivojevic himself, fighting his way back to full form and fitness after an injury. Normally Cheikhou Kouyaté is the guy who comes on, but this time it's interestingly Schlupp who's been given these final 20 minutes, Trevor.
Yeah, I haven't worked Patrick Vieira out completely yet. He makes choices. Kouyaté came on at the Arsenal game.
Ball over the top, just to interrupt for a second. Zaha in a foot race against Ritchie. The ball ricochets fortuitously to him. And do you know what? He had Schlupp free on his right, decided to shoot again, snatched at it and tracked it wide of goal.
Yeah, probably trying to make too much of an impression.
Yeah.
He's got to warm into the game slightly, but he's been offered opportunities there that encouraged him to try and get shots away. They've not come off.
Frustration there from Palace. No doubt Zaha creates opportunity, space, you name it, but sometimes that decision making, that final ball or that decision to shoot, when it's not happening, it can infuriate. So we stay 1-1 with 16 minutes to go. Rick Kitch, enjoying listening to your commentary on a rainy day while I drive through the Gallatin State Forest in Somerset County in Pennsylvania. Sent us some lovely pictures as well from Penn State there of the autumnal leaves on the turn. Very, very nice indeed. And Ripple, enjoying from St. Louis, Missouri, all of our various commentaries. He's actually tuning into the Wolves game and says, please, please bring home the winner. We'll see if Wolves can get that win that, of course, as we said, would take them up to 15 points and up to 6th in the table. That'd be a turn up from how they started under Bruno Lage, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's quite a story at Wolves, but it looked like they'd peaked and were on their way down, but Lage has brought them back and they've got their self-belief. I said that last result last week, unbelievable at Aston Villa.
75 gone. Palace 1, Newcastle 1. Scott says, great commentary, boys. Good to have him listening from stateside as well. Wherever you're listening, at TalkSport Live, drop us a tweet. Where you're listening from, what you're up to, send us a picture. And of course, your thoughts on this game. Is anyone going to nick a winner or not? Let us know. Your thoughts on Palace under Vieira. Where are they heading? And of course, Newcastle. Where on earth are they heading? Not just in the coming weeks, but beyond as well. As the new players come in, the money is spent. They need to spend it wisely, not just blow it on mercenaries like Queen's Park Rangers did all those years ago when they suddenly had money. It's got to be part of a structure, part of a policy to get it right and succeed in the medium to long term. Back to this game, Schlupp claims he was upended on the edge of the penalty area. Officials had a good view. They say no dice and the ball trickles through.
Didn't look like anything to me. I think that was just a very light coming together. Schlupp goes down.
Clark was goal side, wasn't he? He was in the right position.
He was. Schlupp goes down far too easy. The game's very finely balanced though, Russell. It really could go either way.
Aiti saying nice headed goal from Benteke, and I still am backing Palace to go and win this one. He says Jordan Ayew off the bench has a goal in him too. We know Trevor's links to the Ayew family. Jordan Ayew hasn't scored, I think it's in 35 Premier League games and about 50 in all competitions, but he is a consistent trier and handful. And Jordan Ayew, if he does eventually get a goal, be it off the bench today or whenever, I wonder if that then reopens the floodgates, because he was actually scoring quite a few, weirdly, before this unbelievably long Barron run.
Yeah, he's been a bit like that all the way through his career. He looks like he could be a world beater, but then just goes quiet for a period of time, can't find his scoring boots, but then he can burst into... I
think it was his dummy, by the way, that freed Benteke for that awful miss a few minutes ago. Edouard just caught slightly in two minds, goes back to MacArthur, now to Mitchell, and Almiron, as I mentioned, so full, isn't he, of vigour and running and hunger, tracking all the way back to put in that sliding tackle.
Yeah, he looks like he's up for the fight, doesn't he?
He always does. It's just he doesn't score enough, does he? That's what's so annoying about him.
He hasn't got that calmness. He's got ability, and what's lacking is that subtlety about his game.
Yep. Say that about so many kind of all sometimes as well, frustratingly. Anyway, here can Palace again. Schlupp to Benteke. Clever ball out to the right-hand side, back to Will Zaha. Runs at one man, at two, does cross this time, goes infield, just behind Jeffrey Schlupp. And this time it's Isaac Hayden that makes the interception as the ball doesn't quite get through to Benteke once more. It's loose as, I think it's Callum Wilson slips. It was as he came back to help out. That means that Joel Ward gets it back. Right-hand side to Zaha, cuts inside his fellow number 11, Richie to Benteke, turns, shot on target from Benteke, snatched slightly. I think he had more time than he realised, Benteke, and in the end, hits it straight at Hardalo. Really good chance for Benteke once more.
Zaha feeds the ball into Benteke, who's having to hit the ball on the turn, and he's never going to get the power that he's required. But Benteke's always going to get chances. It's his conversion rate that is always going to let him down.
Absolutely. So 2 shots on target each, but 12-4 in terms of attempts on goal at all in Palace's favour. That says a lot, doesn't it, that they're raining these shots in, but they're not sufficiently on target. Newcastle, percentage-wise, are making much more of the few rare opportunities that they are getting. 78 gone. Eddie Kenny's tweeted in saying, Newcastle fans, they're singing and chanting, but what are they singing about? Because they can't chant about sacking Steve Bruce anymore. Very, very good point. He says, I hope Palace snatch this at the death. Eddie, thank you for your tweet. Trevor and I probably don't fully agree, but it's a fair point actually. Now he's out, I wonder what they'll sing about next.
Well, it's actually very start.
So Paulo Fonseca, as I said, formerly of Roma and Shakhtar, is the favourite. He's been in talks. Lucien Favre, ex-Borussia Dortmund, and then Eddie Howe, Frank Lampard, Roberto Martinez, Steven Gerrard. That seems to be the Newcastle shortlist. I'll come back to it in a second, because Schlupp has found Zaha. Great tackle on the edge of the penalty area, on the floor though from Kieran Clark. Ball takes a deflection, goes out of play. Who for you is your man?
Substitution going on. Sam Maxim being exchanged for Joe Linton.
Club's record signing still, and another man who's underwhelmed and frustrated, the big peroxide blonde-haired Brazilian. He comes on for Sam Maximin. I mean, 4 of them are out of a job, aren't they? In Favre, Howe, Fonseca and Lampard. Martinez still with Belgium, formerly of course of Everton, and Gerrard, as we know, doing well at Rangers. Certainly seems that Fonseca's the one they want if they can get him, and maybe this is a more tempting job, ironically, than Spurs, because of the direction of the club. In the medium term, maybe it's a better project.
Yeah, do you know what? I've got a feeling, although he wouldn't take the job, is Roberto Martinez. I think he would be a good fit.
I agree.
But you know, he's doing it. He's on got a job on with Belgium, hasn't he? The Qatar World Cup is only 12 months away, 13 months away.
It'd be odd to, as you say, leave now when he's come so close with that golden generation of Belgians so often. Anyway, here, nice play from Joelinton, first touch to his fellow sub Almiron, who came herring down the line. It's gone, 1-1.
Wouldn't it be ironic if Joe Linton ended up as the hero today?
Right? I mean, he's barely ever scored, has he, since he came?
Steve Bruce brings him to the club and he's not done it for him, and then when Steve leaves,
Richie's corner, can he find him? He does find Joelinton, but the header is high and upward under pressure from Ward. Anderson helps out and Mitchell hacks it to safety, but Newcastle looking better after their subs, it's got to be said. Until then, ball pumped in by Manquillo was a poor one, overhit, Wilson was never going to get there, and it's straight to the Palace goalkeeper, straight to Vicente Keita. It's Palace building their way out of defence. Patrick Abraham's also listening in Atlanta, Georgia, re-pointing out, as we've already said, that Almiron is a Georgia boy, absolutely, via Paraguay. There's been another goal, I can tell you, in the game involving Everton and Watford. That was 2-1 against Everton. Well, Hayden can't get there, though. MacArthur does. Now to Schlupp, deflected effort. Can the keeper keep it in? Has that gone behind for a corner? I think it's gone behind for a corner. It has, therefore, let's take you, first of all, to a goal at Goodison Park.
For a free kick earlier on in the first half for their first equaliser. Here's Cucho Hernandez's delivery, heading towards goal and in! Jure Kucka!
Wow, so 2-2 Everton-Watford, but as we speak there's been another goal seconds after that one, which we'll bring you in a moment. So Trevor, heartbroken that Everton have gone back to drawing again. Will he be even sadder or will he be happier? In a moment we'll tell you on the back of this one. So Tim Long with the commentary, back to Tim in a second. But Conor Gallagher with the Palace corner, 1-1 here. Short delivery, and he does well to keep the clearance back in play. Gallagher, another cross, headed clear again, this time by Kraft. Gallagher then beats Joelinton nicely, right-footed. Skies shanks that one out of play, goal kick. We take you back to Goodison Park again.
Up down the line, Watford pouring forward again here. They might be in behind if the pass is right. It is. It's Josh King. 2 goals in a minute for Watford.
Isn't that Josh King against the club that he just left in the summer when it didn't really work out as well?
Honestly, I don't know what to say. Oh, my old team, what's happening there? I mean, Watford, credit to them. And yeah, Josh King couldn't get on the field. He was there on loan last season. Literally could not get a minute on the pitch. And he goes and scores 2. Oh,
unbelievable. So, Palace won, Newcastle 1 in our featured game with 6 minutes plus time added on to go. As Palace miss kick, got to be careful. Here's Joe Willock surging down on the edge of the penalty area. Well done, Joel Ward, who read that one not for the first time today to make the interception. Elsewhere, Everton 2, Watford 3, Leeds 0, Wolves 1. Still, as Wolves look to go inside the top 6 for a few hours at least. And still, Southampton 2, Burnley 2 in that big topsy-turvy battle at the bottom. Earlier, Chelsea 7, Norwich 0, coming up at 5:30. It's Brighton versus Manchester City. Looking forward to that one with Tom Rennie, your chief commentator, alongside the former Man City and Wales defender Kit Simons. High ball, little shove there, free kick on halfway to Palace and James McArthur, and chance for Palace to just reset and work out how they're going to win this later.
The last 5 or 10 minutes, it's just been sort of through Zaha, and if Zaha can try and find something, and with Schlupp as well, and it's not really worked. The sort of momentum's gone out of Crystal Palace a little bit. Newcastle United still have a little vision, I think, of trying to win this one.
Tell you ahead of that 5:30 kick-off, teams are in. Kevin De Bruyne is on the bench, interestingly, for Manchester City. Ball comes loose in our game to Zaha once more, running at his man. Wilfried Zaha, great cross, important interception to Benteke, to McArthur, deflected wide. Palace queuing up, pinball in the Newcastle penalty area, pandemonium in the box. And it's behind for another corner. Palace can't convert.
It all makes for exciting stuff. Zaha does really well on the right-hand side and pulls the ball across inside the 6-yard box, but there's no one there to take advantage of it. But look at Newcastle United. Honestly, people diving in front of the ball. It's like a pinball in there.
Unbelievable. So yeah, Jack Grealish and Phil Foden getting the attacking opportunities. Gabriel Jesus up front. That's some of the Man City team. Adam Lallana, the veterans, in there for Brighton. See whether or not the Seagulls can get that one done or not. Header from distance, is it? Palace 2, Newcastle 1.
Well, it was a magnificent header, you've got to say, from Benteke, as the corner kick came in from the right hand side. It was Conor Gallagher, I believe, drives it in, and he's near the back post, but 7 or 8 yards out. Unchallenged. Benteke is unchallenged, and he could pick his spot, and he really caught it with the meat of his forehead. It is rocketed past Darlow into the top of the net.
Wow. So Christian Benteke with 2 goals in this game, and also 4 other opportunities, some tough, some not. Unbelievable. And again, he's the hero, and will he be the match winner, I wonder. 3 plus time added on to go, and Christian Benteke has scored again to put Crystal Palace 2-1 up against the Newcastle team, whose goal was an absolute stunner. It was unbelievable, we shouldn't forget. I'm just wondering if there might be an issue here, because the referee there in England has gone over to the touchline, and there's a possible foul in the build-up. He's gone to VAR to check for a possible foul. I've got to say, Benteke did seem to be remarkably unmarked for a man of his height and quality. Was there a foul? Let's have a little look.
Yeah.
Is there a shirt tug?
Definitely a shirt tug there. This is going to be ruled out. Absolutely will be ruled out.
There's a shirt tug that freed the room for Benteke to rise above his man. Mark Guéhi, I think, is the man who took out the Newcastle defender and freed the space illegally for Christian Benteke. And the decision is foul by Mark Guéhi, no goal. Benteke's strike does not stand, and we are back to 1-1, Trevor Stephen.
And the right decision.
Wow.
From where we are, we couldn't see that directly. You need that other camera to be able to see that, because the referee couldn't see it either. So VAR's worked brilliantly there, for Newcastle. But for the fairness of the game,
That's a good example of VAR, isn't it? Something that we may not have seen. It's highlighted by the video official. He quickly tells the referee. The referee comes and does the thing we all want, which is he looks himself on the screen, has a quick chat, no laboured, long conversation, decision made, we play on. To me, that's VAR working perfectly, which we don't often see.
It's a clear and obvious
don't see enough.
Clear and obvious decision. That's what it was brought in for.
Spot on. Well done, VAR. Benteke's furious. Has he just gone in the book, or is it Jean-Philippe Gbamin, the new man? One of those two was steamed in on a Newcastle player on the far side. It was Benteke, I think. He's really, really angry at that disallowed goal. Vents his frustration. Takes it out on a Newcastle player, on Emil Kraft, who's out cold, it almost looks like. He's in severe pain, I think. Or maybe it was Gbamin. It was one of the two. They both kind of clattered into Kraft almost in a sandwich. And, a minute to go. A lengthy delay here. We stay 1-1. Graham Jones has a slight new lease of life and a little bit, I wouldn't say of luck, but he'll be chuffed a bit, won't he, that he's not losing all of a sudden.
Yeah, you can't say that it was luck, though, really.
No, exactly.
Because, I mean, it was a clear foul there. I think Newcastle got themselves back into the game through, again, their goal wasn't a lucky one, but it was fortunate that it came out of nowhere with Callum Wilson. So the better team has been Crystal Palace. They've been the more dominant team, but Newcastle haven't given up. They've kept fighting.
It was Kieran Clark, the player brought down, by the way. There was another Newcastle player on the floor next to him as well. And to be fair, as both went down, they immediately appealed. I think the other might well have been Ritchie. They both knew that there'd been a shove, and it was spotted. We're into time added on, and with all of that furore, we've got 5 additional minutes for you. Palace 1, Newcastle 1, was 2-1, back to 1-1. Ritchie, chested away by Ward, who's appealing for a penalty, but even if it did flick an arm, it was off the chest first, and quite rightly, I think, no more than a corner given, but notably, another Newcastle corner. It's all turned around again.
Well, it looks like his hands are down by his side. He's actually trying to hide it, and it does come off his chest. There's no debate there. But it is a corner kick for Newcastle. What an opportunity for them.
Crikey. It's going to be Ritchie to take it. We tick toward the end of the first of those 5 minutes. Ritchie's outswinging delivery, headed to relative safety by Ward, who did well. Newcastle have committed almost everybody forward apart from Isaac Hayden, and now Palace try to counter-attack through Odsonne Edouard, but he's tiring, the former Celtic man. Edouard loses out in the foot race and then again tugs his man in frustration, which was Joe Willock.
Newcastle left, and the game's open and opportunities will come. There will be a chance in this next few moments.
Palace have only won 2 in 10, by the way, in the Premier League against Newcastle at Selhurst Park. 3 draws, 5 losses. Are they going to lose another one here at the death? I wonder. Here's Almiron. Nice delivery to Joelinton, who tries an acrobatic overhead kick. He smashes into Mark Gay. Gay's okay, but Joelinton has hurt himself in the process. Eyes on the ball, I grant you, but it's still dangerous. And as a result, Joelinton gets booked, but nice sporting conduct. Gay doesn't mind. He appreciates that it was a genuine effort. And even though Joelinton gets in the book, Gay's fine, doesn't play act, and then actually helps Joelinton back to his feet. Fair play there to Mark Gay.
Yeah, Joelinton, borderline reckless, but he pulled his foot back right in the last second. With Joelinton, he just can't find himself in the right position at the right time, can he? The balls come into the box, but he's never just quite there.
Can Palace remain unbeaten in their first 5 top-flight home matches of the season for the first time since 1990, I wonder? What an achievement that would be. I know a point isn't really what they want, but that's a notable effort, that, isn't it? Not to be beaten at home for the first time in your 5 openers in the league for what? My goodness, the best part of what? Plus 30 years.
Yeah, but this is going to be a really frustrating week. If it ends like this, Palace should have beaten Arsenal. They should have beaten Newcastle United.
Well, Trev, it'll be 6 draws in 9, which is in itself by far the most of anybody in the Premier League, and the most of anyone in the Premier League since 2014 at this point of the season. It's a lot of draws, isn't it? And as you say, that does mask some progress, but also a lot of frustration and deficiencies that still need to be worked on.
Yeah, a lot of positives, and obviously they can work on that. Patrick Vieira can work on that. The players will know what they are. Try and nullify the other things, get rid of those, eliminate bits and pieces from the game that are allowing teams back in.
Free kick to Newcastle from distance, clipped forward by Ritchie. It's back as far as let's win it back. Edouard tries a impudent little back heel that's cut out by Emil Kraft. He knocks it forward, interception from Anderson, but only as far as Gelinton. Left edge of the box to Almiron, who's tight for space. But Miguel Almiron just about got there to win another corner. Jones' first game in temporary charge, I wonder. We've got about 40 seconds plus any additional time added on here on Premier League Live. Palace 1, Newcastle 1. Ritchie's corner, header from Lascelles, who got there but couldn't direct it goalward. It's wide and comfortably blocked in the end by Vicente Gaeta. Is that the last play of the game, I wonder, Trevor, or have we got one more moment of drama?
I think that was a big opportunity, that last corner there from Newcastle. Time's running out. Palace are going to have to throw it into the box if they're going to try and create anything. There's no time to be playing the ball around. Need to get it forward.
Been further late goals in the Everton-Watford game, which I'll tell you about in a moment. All very, very exciting. But here, the full-time whistle blows. The boos ring out. Boos of frustration from Palace about that disallowed goal. But one that we appreciate was correctly spotted by VAR. Christian Benteke with the opener. One wonderful effort that he just missed. Some other sitters that he frustratingly missed. Woodwork hit twice at the other end, as we thought. Ruled out. A game that Palace largely dominate. But it's yet another draw under Patrick Vieira. And Graham Jones, in his first of 2 games in temporary charge, gets a point for Newcastle and to a degree stops the bleed for the new owners. Full-time, Palace 1, Newcastle 1. All done here, but there's been a further goal in that game between Everton and Watford.
3 goals in the space of 8 minutes for Watford from the 78th to the 86th. After Richarlison had put Everton in front for a second time today, Watford have now blown them away. They might get another one here. Cross comes in, into the box, big chance for 5! Emmanuel Dennis knocks Everton to their knees. A 5-star show on the road from Claudio Ranieri's men, with 4 goals in the space of 13 minutes to finish with a blitz.
So Josh King with the 4th, Dennis now with the 3rd, hat-trick for King, Cooker in between as well. Everton, from leading 1-0 and 2-1, lose 5-2. I will get Trevor's reaction to his former team in a second, but there's been another goal as well late on in Leeds Wolves. John Howick.
Now then, who's going to step up for Leeds to take this? 6 minutes of added on time, 3 of them have already elapsed. And Rodrigo is going to spot the ball down up against Jose Sarr. Hasn't scored in his last 7 appearances for Leeds. This is the best opportunity for Leeds to get level. Rodrigo steps up, sends Sarr the wrong way, and Leeds do get level.
John, thank you. Stunning stuff. Leeds 1, Wolves 1, Everton 2, Watford 5, Southampton 2, Burnley 2. Our commentary game, Palace 1, Newcastle 1. And to come, Brighton versus Manchester City at 5:30 with Tom Rennie and Kit Simons. We'll look ahead to that and get all Trevor Stevens' reaction in a second. Stay with us on Premier League Live.